into this very odd, very strange studio apartment building over on Franklin Avenue. My first weekend there, I opened the windows up, and out at the pool is somebody wearing what almost looked like a thong bikini, smoking a cigar, and listening to Roger Whittaker. And I opened up the window and I said, "Who the hell listens to Roger Whittaker?" And he turned around and went, "Oh, me." And he said, "But how do you know who? Oh, you know who Roger Whittaker is? Oh, oh." We were friends from that point on. He would come over for dinner. I swear he never knew how to cook. I'd been to his apartment. You go open up the cabinets, and it was paper plates and little packages of mustard and mayo. And I'd make 2-course meals. Fred always managed to find his way to my apartment just around dinner time. And I never refused it. But then I got hired to go back to New York, kept the apartment in LA, and Fred looked at me and said, "Well, where are you going?" And I said, "Well, I've been hired to produce Donahue." And he went, "Donahue?" Ooh. And he just went, because I was producing one of his afternoon heroes. No offense. And somehow or another, I managed to do the impossible. If you remember the show where Fred was on, the game show Greats, I produced that. And we would call it a pocket show. You would always have something in your back pocket if one of the people that you had booked either canceled, died out, or whatever. And I said to Fred, "Let's do it." In 2 days' time, I had a complete show. And I'll never forget, as long as I live, the guy, what we used to call ESS, Electronic Still Store. He said, "Do you have any pictures?" And I said, "Yeah, Fred came with some." And I walked in with a briefcase. And he said, "Oh, they're in there?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Which ones am I going to be using?" And I said, "Have you ever heard Fred Wostbrook talk about game shows?" I said, "Put them all in, and let's keep them up and hope for the best." There were 170. They were not happy with me in the control room. But Phil Donahue, at the end of the show, turned around and said, "Where did you find this guy?" And I said, "He's my neighbor." And he said, "Does he have a life?" And I said, "Yeah, game shows." And there's no better way to put it. And you know, and please, I'm standing next to one of the true greats of game shows. And now I was looking around for Peter Marshall. But I have to tell you a couple of fun stories with Fred that always will crack me up. I guess it had to have been 20-something years ago, because I had this little blue MG, which I still have in storage. And Fred, for some reason or other, liked riding in that car. Well, at the time, he was driving this old Honda. And I don't know if that car, if any of you ever remember that old blue Honda. I don't know how that thing drove down the road. It leaked more than it drove. And so finally, Fred got around and got the Mustang, but before that time, he would get into my car because it was a convertible. And every once in a while, he would like driving in that convertible because he could get sun. And we're driving, and this is where it gets really sketchy for me here. We're driving past what was about to become Hollywood Forever Cemetery. And in pulls a mail truck. And I said, "You see, but you're much younger now, so I can get away with this." I said, "Hey, Fred, look, they're delivering residual checks to some of your clients." He spent the next 4 hours hating me. But there's so few people on this planet that, I mean, you know, even now I still get emotional over it. I had Fred as a personal friend from the day that I moved into this town. And over the last couple of years, I've been busy. You know, you do things and time goes by, but you're always good friends. I mean, he would call me. I'd look at the phone, and somebody said this the other day too. You'd see 769-9111. You'd pick up the phone, you know it's Fred. He would always call me Franklin. "Franklin, it's Fred." No shit. But, you know, the hardest thing to do is to say goodbye to somebody when a part of you is going with them. And a part of me is going with Fred. You know, part of my feeling about the way this town operates, nobody was more genuine than him. Nobody was funnier than him. Nobody was quirky. Oh, he was strange. What was a Windex bottle? You got that? I remember him down on his hands and knees with a comb going shag carpet straight into that. But nobody loved everyone as much as that man did. And thank you for one thing. I've had the chance to meet people like Cindy. I mean, when Fred passed, we spent 20 minutes on the phone, and I think we said one word because we couldn't stop crying. Because she knew the connection I had to him. I knew the connection that you have. Everybody had a different connection to Fred. He was like, he needed to go Wi-Fi. It would have been a lot easier on him. But all I can say is, we've all lost somebody that we'll always remember. But to me, I think a part of me went with him. And I'd like to thank you. And I'd like to thank you all for being here.
So you did wear a Speedo, huh?
Okay, so we have our awkward friend story.
Not that there were any of those.
No. Okay, so Joe lives in Florida. Used to live out here. And he does like a bajillion infomercials, and he retired. He's got more money than I'll ever hope to have. So I figured...
Don't tell Cindy she never got her 10%.
She let you keep 90% of her heart.
So Joey's going to be in town. I said, let me have a dinner party at my house. So I get a bunch of spaghetti going, and we invite Bob Bowden over and Marla. And I invite Fred over, and Fred was always very nervous about eating food at somebody else's house. He didn't trust the cook. I said, Fred, don't worry, I'm making spaghetti. Tell me how your mom made it. I'll make it the same way, whatever it was. But come over, he says, and I said, and bring somebody. It's a dinner party. He goes, can I bring Jean? I thought, ooh, Fred's got a girl. Okay, Jean. And then, oh, maybe it's his friend Jean Cummings. She's an older woman. Bring her over, have a nice dinner. So Joey comes over, we have a dinner party, there's a knock on the door, Fred shows up with Jean Raber. And this is where it gets awkward.
My name is Joe Farrago, and I'm a recovering game show host. And I did Break the Bank and took over for Gene as the host of that show. So here we are at dinner at Christmas at Shelley's, and there's Gene, and there I am, and there we are.
And there's a picture of it that was up here from that evening, and fortunately Gene was still bitter about a lot of other things and never got around to Joe.
So it was a little awkward, but it ended up working out great. But real quickly, I met Fred a long time ago. We were doing a run-through over at Fiedler, Berlin. I worked at Jay Wolpert's together, and then Fiedler, Berlin was doing some stuff, and there happened to come up an opening at Joseph Helfon and Rick's for a game show agent. And I said, Fred, you ought to go talk to Cindy, talk to the crew over there, you know? He said, you think really? I said, yeah, go talk. Well, the rest is history. He knew Don Pitts, and he met Cindy, and we were all having a great time. And as a result, Fred went to that location where we all connected with him. He was a terrific guy. We always said if he could only be harnessed for peaceful purposes, he could light the city of North Hollywood for years. When you went into Fred's office and sat there with Fred and Gary Owens, I don't know the story. It was a life-size cutout of Gary Owens in his office, and so the three of us would always sit there. And like today, I just landed a couple hours ago. So I would always come in and hit and run. Cindy usually wouldn't know when I was coming. Fred wouldn't know when I was coming. I didn't like to make a big deal. Just pop in, hey, how you doing, everybody? Okay, great, we're out. But as everybody said, Fred was so energetic and so vociferous. You don't know me, but you can only imagine Cindy would be able to tell you what it sounded like with two of our voices coming out of that office. Needless to say, the doors were always closed when I was visiting Fred, because one thing would lead to another, which would lead to another, which would lead to another, and finally the decibel level just made it impossible for anyone to speak on the telephone. And the doors would slam, or Cindy would yell, "Fred, for God's sake!" You too, Farrago. So he closed the door, and Fred was excited about everything. Fred had a joy down to the soles of his feet for life and for other people's happiness. Very few people you meet in life that are truly happy when you accomplish something. Yeah, sure, he helped us, but he was part of that in that he enjoyed what you did. He was happy for you. You can find one person like that in your life. You're the luckiest person around, and we all found that one person. He was energy, he was excitement, he was unique, he was quirky, he was a puzzle, he was all the things that everybody said. But one of the most important things was he was our friend as well as our agent and an associate. This guy loved life, he loved people, he loved what he did. He absolutely, to the very fiber of his being, loved what he did. And it showed in his voice, it showed in the sparkle in his eye, it showed in, you would walk in, oh my God, I think he probably was gonna, choke when he found out that I was the voice on the Disney tram. I would come in and he'd go, "Joe Farrago," and I'd go, "For your safety, please do not exit the tram while you're using Para su propia seguridad, don't salga el carro cuando llegue." And then the doors would go boom, "Farrago, for God's sake," and the door would close. So Fred would always go, "Hey, Joe Farrago." I go, "Hey, Fred Westbrook," and so it would always be a brand new car. Anyway, to wrap that up real quickly, about 3 weeks ago I went back to my old school, University of Colorado, and I donated to the museum a relic of my past, which was my cheerleading sweater from college. The woman in charge of the museum at the university was just ecstatic. She told me she was so happy to get this because, in her words, we don't have anything from that era. We no longer have something in Fred from that era, but we have so much that lives on in him through all of us, through Adam, pictures, books, videos, and the look that you see in other people's faces and in their eyes when we honor Fred and we remember Fred. And it's a blessing to be here. It was a blessing to have known him. And all of us, I think, will have a small Fred Westbrook-shaped hole in our heart from here on out. Thank you for letting me pop up.
Before we wrap, Fred said to me one time, he said, "I collect pictures of you, and little Noah, he won't appreciate them now, but he will someday." And when I saw what he did, he didn't collect pictures. He collected photos, and then he put each photo into a frame, if you will, a plastic frame. And it was like he just took care of these like they were his children, for crying out loud. But he said, little Noah will appreciate them someday. That gentleman right there would like to say a couple of words.
He sure would.
Why don't you come up here, my friend? And
my name is Zaire Hampton, and I was my grandpa is like, well, one of, since my little sister was born, his friends, and he raised me since the day I was born, and he had like the most amazing memory, because everyone in here who he had a phone number for, he remembered like by heart everyone's number. And he, like, I would ask him, "Grandpa, what's Bobby Banks' number?" He just recited it off by memory. He didn't have to look at anything. It's like he like had a script and he would read it like off the top of his head. And last time I saw him was Halloween, and when we left, he told me, "Zaire, get good grades now." And like I try to maintain that, but he like never ever yelled at me. Never yelled at anyone actually. And he was just so loving and kind. And my little sister was.
Hi, I'm Amor, and I'm 10 years old, and I love him so much. And me and Grandpa have the same birthday on the same day.
You want to join us, please?
Hi, my name is May Hampton. Fred and I have been together since 1986 when my daughter was 5 years old. He helped me to raise them. We never let other people know what we was about, but a lot of you guys had a question about if he accepted how power. I am a Christian. And my minister is here, and also Bob Eubank ministered at the smokehouse. And in his last days, and my sister is here too, he asked for prayer. And he wanted to make sure that he made it home. And I do believe at that time we was there night and day, me and the kids, we were there every night and day. And we saw what you didn't see. You saw the Westbrook. They wanted to make sure if he left this world, and that there was a high power that he went. My church, and I'm quite sure yours too, and many other you guys prayed for him. He watched Billy Graham on TV in his last days, and Captain Kumar and a few others. So he wanted to make sure he made it. So those questions concerning him about a high power in his last days show. And I know God is anyone that wants to make it home in your last day, as you have seen when Jesus was on the cross. There was one on one side and one on another. One made the decision and asked Christ to save him. And he said, this day you will be with me in paradise. And this is what Fred had done. And I thank you guys. I know you guys really have been wonderful. And when we was planning on eventually moving out of here, Fred and I and the kids, and we was going to start a restaurant. And the last day I was with him, he said to me, he said, May, we can't do a restaurant. And I said, I understand. And Steve, his brother, he would tell you too that he prayed with him at the last moment, the last hour. And Fred prayed too. And I do believe he's in heaven. And one day you too, if you make it there, you will be able to see him. I do believe that. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sure a lot of us would like to know, would have known, that there were two young ones calling him Grandpa. But boy, would I have used that one. Well, that's Fred. Fred will always be with us. He will always be with us. And those of us who showed up today are here to honor him. I thank Mark and Cindy for inviting us. And the last thing that I'll always remember is Fred saying to me, how's little Noah? Because that's what was important to me. He knew it. God bless you all for coming.